Well, welcome to another Inside Lansing, where today's guest is Trustee Saad Abbasy. Trustee Abbasy, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this conversation and sharing with you a little bit.
Well, let's move right into it then,
Yeah.
and let's talk a little bit, before we get into you as a trustee, why don't we talk a little bit about where you came before, and basically what we found out is that you were a Senior Compliance Analyst, that's correct?
Yeah, I'm a Senior Compliance Analyst. I'm still currently.
Still currently,
Yeah,
yes.
so
that's
as
what
a
I mean.
trustee, it's a part-time kind of gig where you go to meetings and things like that, so I'm able to maintain my full-time job. I'm a Senior Compliance Analyst for a financial regulator, which regulates a certain type of derivative trading in our country, and so the job has a lot to do with regulating markets, handling financial documents, reviewing them, and ensuring that they're free from fraud.
Okay.
We try to protect consumers from fraudulent companies.
So the compliance angle means
Yeah.
basically just making sure we're doing it right.
Yeah. So as part of that, I'm a certified fraud examiner, and so just part of my job is looking through documentation, looking through promotional materials, and ensuring that what they're communicating they're going to provide, they provide to their consumers.
What got you into that?
Well, I studied accounting and finance in college, and so just kind of one career jumped to another. One friend just suggested it'd be a good fit, and so got into it, and it's been something that I've just learned that I really enjoy. Just celebrated my 7th year at the company,
Oh,
so
wow. Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. So it's something that I just find very interesting to be able to analyze and dissect communication and be able to determine, is it being honest, is it fraudulent, is it compliant with rules and regulations that are set forth by the government. And so has somewhat of a tie to the role of a trustee, because we do some of that in analyzing and dissecting paperwork and things like that. So yeah, it's a good fit for me.
Now, something else people might not know about you is that you were also on the Planning and Zoning Board here. And I was just going to ask you what that role is that you have there.
Yeah, well, I joined the Planning and Zoning Board, I believe, in 2015, and was just interested in learning more about how businesses come to town, how residents might make changes to their properties and things like that. And so I was asked to join the Planning and Zoning Board, so I did that. And that work on the Planning and Zoning Board is very integral to our community and our village, because sometimes the Planning and Zoning Board is the first step a business takes before they come to town. They have to ensure that their building plans, when it comes to signage or how they want to build out their buildings, is to code. And so the Planning and Zoning Board is that first kind of testing ground for them to see if it's going to fly for what the village wants.
And are there checks and balances?
Yeah, kind of a checks and balances. And so you learn a lot about what our current ordinances say, how our ordinances might be adapted to better protect our residents. And as part of that, in 2017, I was appointed to be the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Board. And so as the chairman, my job was to run the meetings as of the Planning and Zoning, and then also just provide some guidance for our commissioners on what's coming up, what things to look for, how to be able to find certain ordinances and language in the code books to help us make a decision on certain requests that come through.
And you think that this helps Lansing quite a bit?
It does. It's vital, because when a business comes to town, businesses oftentimes have their best way of doing something, and oftentimes it's a financial reason. They want to promote themselves a certain way with certain signage, but overall that might not fit the overall vision of our community of what does it look like to have too much of one thing.
Right.
What does it look like to have a building aesthetically not look well to fit with the other buildings surrounding it? What does it look like to have a business that will fit in a certain part of town that won't fit in another part of town? And so that Planning and Zoning Board is important, because it's the place where we're kind of that checks and balances to ensure that those things are happening for the best interest of our community. And in another sense, for residents that are looking to do things like fences that might not fit within the codes, that's just a good place for, I'm just a resident at that point, and just listening to another resident say what they want to do, but ensuring that those requests are not a burden on the neighborhood and the other residents. And so it's a very important role because it keeps our town looking great. It keeps our town in a comprehensive plan. And
Yes.
so that's that planning and zoning board. It's integral to the comprehensive feel of how our community looks and operates.
That's something that's integral to Lansing is our trustees, and that is
Yeah.
probably the position people most know you for right now,
Yeah. Yeah.
is trustee of finance and the Human Relations Commission.
Uh,
So, going into that role, what are some things that maybe you didn't know that you were going to face in that role that that's come up?
Yeah, well, first off, I've loved serving in this capacity. I was elected in April of this year, and in May I was sworn in, and just hit the ground running. And what you learn quickly is the Village of Lansing is almost operates as a large enterprise business. There's so many facets to the Village of Lansing that many residents don't understand.
Right.
When they think about a business coming to town, they just think, oh, there's an open storefront. Why don't we just fill it with name your brand, your favorite brand? But there's so much that goes into where businesses go, how they come into the village. There's so much that goes behind the number of staff that the village operates, the amount of money that's charged for certain services that the village provides. And so the village is a very large operation, and I don't think most residents realize just how large of an operation the village is. And so my eyes have been opened to that. In the role of the finance chairman, finance chair on the trustee board, my responsibility is every 2 weeks, I receive a binder of all the bills for the past 2 weeks. And so I look through each one, just kind of as an oversight, just providing oversight to ensure that things are, being paid correctly, things are being directed to the right budget areas, and possibly if things are being spent that I might have some questions on why they're being spent. That's kind of my role as a finance chair. And so I'm in communication with our treasurer in the village and as well as our finance clerks, and I'm just asking those questions. And so that was a pretty big task that I didn't fully understand prior to coming into the position, but it's been interesting to learn how that role all functions.
Some people might not know why the trustee is important, so maybe I give you a chance here to just say why you feel the role of a trustee is important to the village.
Yeah, well, there's a couple reasons, and I'll answer it a couple ways. One, if you think about the trustees, we would serve as the legislative body of the Village of Lansing. And so you have the administration, which is the village administrator and the mayor, and their office that kind of sets the path and the vision of what they want to see accomplished in our community. And they make suggestions on plans to move our village forward. And the trustee board is the one who provides that oversight and accountability to ensure these plans of the administration are truly for the best interest of our community, and is the monies that are being spent, are they being spent wisely, or do we have to redirect kind of the vision? And so it's a very important legislative body because it provides oversight and accountability to the administration. And so we currently are in a good spot right now where the legislative body and the administration are working well together and moving Lansing forward in some exciting ways. And another reason I think the role of trustee is very important is accessibility. So as a trustee, me being a trustee in the Village of Lansing just provides residents who know me, residents who might not know our mayor, might not know some of the other trustees on the board, but they know me directly. And so now they have a voice in village government. Okay. And so myself, I'm a young father. My kids are involved in the school districts and the park districts. So other families, young families, or other young people in our community will see me as a trustee and say, okay, I have now a voice in village government. And so they would feel comfortable coming to me with a concern about our community or a question about how to receive a particular service. And so it's important to have representation of many different voices as trustees and in our elected body, because it allows different voices in our community to be heard and to be spoken for.
Okay. Now, you're a trustee, you're a senior compliance analyst, all this great stuff, but you're also, a family man,
Yeah.
and probably one of the big parts of your life is being part of Cornerstone Church.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about how long you've been there and how your family and you guys, I guess function there, or what you do,
Yeah, well, faith is kind of my number one thing, and so it's very meaningful to me in my life, and probably the thing that I want to be identified the most by. And so my time at Cornerstone Church, I've been there about 5 years now, and if you ask me what I do there, I would say pretty much anything and everything. So whether I serve on an executive leadership team there at Cornerstone Church, and in that capacity, overseeing just the overall functioning of the church and the direction of the church. And so I love my time at Cornerstone. My family loves our time at Cornerstone. One of the things that community members might not realize is that Cornerstone is really just trying to be representative of the makeup of Lansing. And so as we talk about a multi-ethnic, multi-generational community, we're working really hard to ensure that who we are as the people sitting in the pews represents our community. And so even for kids, on Wednesday evenings, we offer free programming for kids 3 years old through 5th grade, that kids just have access to instruction, a safe place to come and be with other kids their age. And so we're just trying to offer our community of Lansing just a place where they can come, feel safe, and receive hope and joy. And so that's Cornerstone.
I'm glad we could get a little bit of piece of that. Maybe next time we have you on the show, we could talk a little bit more about all that.
I could probably talk for hours about that.
But we have so much time, and I just want to get the last couple questions in here. Back to your role as trustee, the thing that people know you for here in town. And I just want to know, trustee is a position that you go out and you run for. It's not something that, you're given, or it's something that, you need to put the roof over your head or anything. It's typically something that you run out for because you love your community. So I'm going to ask you, why did you want to be a trustee?
That's a great question. And I think my love for this community kind of started at a young age. My family and I moved here in like the early 90s, and so I was able to grow up through the grade school, junior high, TF South, and was able to participate in all the sports leagues, the scouting organizations.
We went to school together.
Exactly. And so I've been provided so many opportunities in my life through this community and through the many volunteers that have served this community when I was growing up. And so when my wife and I were deciding where to buy a house, we chose Lansing because it's a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to grow up. And so we have invested and we've planted our roots here. And when you plant your roots somewhere, it would be easy to just kind of hide in the background and just live and just, take care of my kids. But I've been afforded so many opportunities because of those that came before me and volunteered and served, that it felt, if I'm going to make Lansing my home, I need to be involved. And I need to participate in the operation of our village, whether that's through volunteering in the youth organizations or the church organizations, but even taking it a step further and getting involved in village government. And so it's a great way for me, because I have a lot of opinions, to have my opinions heard, is to be able to be in an elected position. And I would encourage others that are making Lansing their home. It's a great way to see the community become what you want it to be for your family, for the next generation. It's a great opportunity.
Well spoken. And we really appreciate it. And, we look forward to having you on the show again in the near future. But for now, we'd just like to thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, of course. And I really appreciate this opportunity. If you don't mind, I just want to just plug, if residents do have questions, one of the things I didn't mention is that trustees want to hear from residents. And so please, 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 if you have a question about something in the village that you don't know about, or you read something in the Lansing Journal, or you see something online that you have questions about, go to the village website. Our email addresses are there. We love getting those emails, because that's why we're in office, is to be representative of you residents. And so we just want to be intentional about hearing from the residents. So I just want to throw that plug out there.
And you heard it here, that, your trustee wants to hear from you. So if you want to get in contact with them as soon as possible.
So thanks, Neil.
Thanks again for being here.
Of course. Thank you.
And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on Inside Lansing.